the last few days that everyone suddenly is an expert on Mathys Tel and what he's going to bring to whatever team he's going to. Everyone's seen him play, Jules. Everyone knows about him. Everyone talks about how prolific he will be, and he's only not playing for Bayern because of Harry Kane. Before we get onto him as a player, let's talk about what has happened over the last couple of days, because it looked like he was not going to Spurs. Obviously, a Spurs contingent went out, we hear, to Munich. They couldn't persuade him to get it over the line. But then Big Ange picked up the phone and went, "Go on, mate. You know you want it." And then in the end, he made the move.
Oh, my God.
And that's it.
Oh,
and he made the move. Like my Australian accent.
Is that what that was?
I think that was beautiful. Is there any truth to any of this that Ange is actually the key to this move?
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly what I've been told. I think
Brilliant.
others have been told the same.
So
I think the phone call this morning from Big Ange to Mathys Tel, who, by the way, on Friday when he rejected them, they hadn't spoken to each other really. Daniel Levy went over, but there hadn't been that conversation between manager and player, which I'm sure the boys have been there. It's pretty important when you're about to sign, or when you have the possibility to sign to a new club, to speak to the manager and see like what kind of speech he can give you, the way they play, etc. All of that is important. On Friday there was none of that. There was that on Monday. Clearly that was enough to convince Mathys that Spurs was a good option for him. He wanted to stay at Bayern first, but he kind of also realised that his game time would be limited as well in the second half of the season, like he was in the first half of the season. And he's a young player. He wants to play. There's a Euro for under-21s in the summer with France that he really wants to take part of. For that, he needs to play. He knows that. So there was a lot of things that then convinced him to leave Bayern. And as we mentioned, and we mentioned it on Friday night, we were together on the show. So many clubs ranked Bayern for him. Really big English clubs, obviously, like United, Arsenal, Chelsea, and Spurs. Big Spanish clubs in Italy, in France as well.
Right.
Mathys Tel wanted to go to Manchester United. He wanted to work with Ruben Amorim. He had the chat with Amorim before the chat with Ange, and United said 5 million euros as a loan fee, not for us, which is really mind-blowing when you think the situation and the position that United are in now, to get one of the most highly rated player of each generation to be able to come to Old Trafford, even for a loan to start with and potentially a permanent move, and they said no for 5 million euros. It's really ridiculous, and Spurs were happy to pay that, and then Ange convinced him that Spurs was a good option for him.
Right then, Jules, I know I can ask you this and you'll give me an answer because you've actually seen him play, unlike others. Is he any good?
He is an amazing talent for his age. I promise you, this is not me being too biased, because he's Paris born and bred, obviously, like all the great talented players in the world. More seriously, he's an incredible talent, but he's only 19 years old. And at Rennes, before he made the big move to Bayern, he was playing a little bit and showing glimpses of this talent, no problem, with Bayern. Last season especially, we saw him as a super sub, really having an impact. And you saw, again, the potential and the talent there. This season, very much more frustrating, as we've explained already. But the talent is there. He's hugely talented. If you play him as a striker, second striker, really that are his best two positions. Then he can play wide and might still be efficient. But really, as a striker or second striker, that's where he's the best. He's lethal. He's got everything, really. And it's just a lack of experience, of course, because he's still only 19 years old. But yeah, for me, he's the complete package.
Former Tottenham player, Kasey Keller.
Yes.
Does this get you excited?
I don't know yet.
Good. Right.
In all honesty, I mean, like you said, we really haven't seen enough of him to get excited about.
Right.
I mean, I think for Spurs, I think it's a great idea. Get a young player from a big club to see if they can get a spark and get something up front that obviously they haven't been able to replicate since Kane went to Bayern. So, yeah, I think it's good business from Daniel Levy without a real commitment as well. Mm-hmm. So if he comes in and walks around and, okay, go back to Bayern. But if there is, what Jules is saying, that he is this generational talent from Paris, that why not?
To Jules's point, Nedum, Mainu played up front yesterday.
Try to.
For Manchester United.
Yes.
Xerxes on the bench, Højlund on the bench, yet you're not willing to cough up 5 million, considering where you've spent all this money over the last few years for a loan fee as a little dip your toe in the water. Let's see.
Yeah, I think if you were a United fan, you'd be very disappointed. But then also some of this, in my mind, is to do with the way Sir Jim Ratcliffe is trying to run that club. You know, you're seeing him cost-cutting around certain things, whether it's people having meals or ticket prices going up. So the loan fee for him must have put him off to the point where the stuff on the field just doesn't matter as much as, say, those other things. And it is a shame because Jules was very clear about seeing potentially Mainu or someone playing a false nine. For them, it was a disaster. You try something new, it just doesn't work. You try something older, it doesn't work. And picture those two forwards being on the bench watching Mainu try and play as a false nine. Like, there's so much disappointment at that place at this moment in time, and it's all the attacking stuff, it's the goal-scoring stuff, it's the stuff where, through the 90s, anyone that didn't support United had to suffer through, because all they would do would be scoring goals, attacking you full speed constantly. And here's this young French talent that potentially could be anything, could be great, but nah, the loan fee is a bit too high. It doesn't feel like Man United the way that we remember it, but I guess this is the way it's going to be going forward.
Do you remember any of that, Shaka? Of
the 90s?
Man U just scoring goals in the 90s?
I've tried my best.
Likewise.
Mario, what's interesting, obviously, you came across from the Eredivisie, where you were an established player for Ajax, making that big move to Chelsea. Obviously, we see a player here in Tel who isn't established at Bayern Munich, but it's everything else, isn't it, that goes along with the move, which makes it so interesting for what is still a youngster. And now, obviously, there's a lot of pressure, a lot of eyes on this youngster as the saviour of Spurs.
Yeah, but I think, like what Jules already highlighted, he comes from Rennes. I played at Rennes myself, you understand? It's a very safe place. It's very confident to develop yourself, right? And then he made the big move to go to Bayern. Okay, the big move to Bayern, sometimes it's almost like a learning, a moment where you have so many stars around you and you're a young boy, talented, you are the dream, you understand that people expect you to succeed. But then it doesn't go always your way. But then he comes to Spurs. I feel like, you understand, I don't want to disrespect Spurs, but it's definitely not, Bayern is a bigger club. And then you're gonna take the step down, you understand, in the sense of like going to the Premier League now and joining that team, especially I'm talking about what the ranks Spurs is right now. But he can do great things, you understand? And for him to go there, if he kicks off well and does the things that the way, not only Jules, but I mean just we as footballers, the things, we know that he is a talented player. But now you want to make sure that he can do it in that team. One of the key things is that he's playing for a coach that it does everything to regarding the attacking style. So, and that is kind of like what he wants to play around. So if he succeeds and plays well, I think it can only be fun to watch.
Does it make any difference in the world that Spurs wasn't his first choice?
I think no. No, I don't think so, because the fact is he's spoken to the manager said that he wants him, and he's made the decision to go to Spurs. Like, your options are your options. Some people are privileged to have tons of options, but in the end you have to make a decision. And what is his other option? To stay at Bayern and potentially not play? I think that misses the point as a young player. He wants to get himself out there. He's got a chance to play in the Premier League, and whatever the reasons were for him turning down on Friday, well, come Monday, he's ready to do it. And he's going to be focused. He's going to go to try and make a difference. When he comes to the Premier League, if he perceives Spurs...
Bang! That was the transfer window shutting, sorry, Nedum.
Of course, yeah. Anyway, so even if he even if he comes over to the Premier League and say he doesn't want to sign for Spurs long term, well, the best way to get a move is to be great in this next 4 or 5 months. So he's coming over with a point to prove. He's going to get the chance to play. And as the guys have said, with Spurs, who play in a really attacking style, really aggressive style, so go and test yourself, see what it's made of. And yeah, it doesn't matter whether it's first, second or third choice. Yeah. The fact is you had choices nonetheless.